All right, welcome to Armchair CMOs. It's your boy V Moss. Jules, what's
And
up?
I'm Jules. How's it going? Vaughn, we've been busy the last couple days. We've both been out and about at games, watching our local teams play.
What a time.
Um, I saw you made it back to your old stomping grounds, VCU.
Yeah. To be on like to have the time to actually go to games now is actually like a crazy cool opportunity. So I was in Richmond back home for the weekend doing some family stuff. But luckily, when you're nice to people and you just do a good job. I just was like, hey, I'm in Richmond, and Richmond is like University of Richmond was playing BCU, which is a big deal. Obviously, it's a rivalry game for us in Richmond. It's like UNC and Duke, which also happened to play that same day. So I text the ticket people and was like, hey, I'm here. I would love to come to the game if you got, and it took care of me. So took my mom and Kia to the game. My mom went to a couple games when I was working there. I guess I should say that too. Like I used to work at VCU in athletics marketing from 2016 to 18. So again, it was a big deal. Um, Rivalry game. It's a t-shirt game. So just to give some context, because it's relevant to this conversation about marketing, right? Like when I was there, we used to do at least four games where we would put a shirt on every seat. So that's like 75, almost 8,000, 7,500, almost 8,000 shirts. So it was a t-shirt game. It was my first time being in that building for a t-shirt game, and I didn't have to put the t-shirts out. So like that was cool. Um, Shout out to my boy Nick from Athletic Union who still makes the t-shirts. I actually helped create that relationship back in 2016, which was dope. Shirts came out great, Nick. What else can I brag about to make it seem like I'm cooler than I really am? It's also like a unique perspective too, because like I got my start working at University of Richmond, and then went to work at VCU later, which is like being a trader. But overall, it was a cool experience. Got to see a bunch of people, which was dope. VCU was playing really well this year, and Richmond is not having a great season. So it actually was like a crazy blowout, the biggest margin of victory for VCU over Richmond ever, and like maybe for them, period, which was crazy. But overall, just the fan experience at VCU games. If you haven't done it, if you're in Virginia, you can get to a game, you should go. The band is always known for being great. They're gonna play. Um, some songs you recognize, like they play Kendrick Lamar TV off and a couple other, popular songs that are out right now. And to sell out, like when I was there, it was like games 80 to 100 and something straight sellouts. I think the sellout streak has been broken, but it was a sellout on Saturday, which obviously helps the atmosphere of it being a crazy game. So overall, it was cool. It was good to be in there. I did have like some notes and some thoughts about some things that happened. Nothing crazy, just like things I noticed about the game presentation that Kia's like, why are you talking about that? Like you're not working. But yeah,
I
they
always,
they have gotten some like really cool upgrades to the video boards, which is dope, which was cool to have like they have a 360 ring, kind of like what we had at, I mean, Capital One Arena has three of them. Um, the Siegel Center is not quite big enough to have three, but just the fact that they have one is dope. But yeah,
um,
so let's go VCU.
those local rivalry games are just like rivalry games in general, but especially when they're local and there's a lot of fans for both teams there, that's like one of my favorite environments in sports. Um, like I love when there's two teams fans in the building and like there's a strong presence because I love that energy. Which actually makes me think of a point I was going to make about I went to the Wizards Lakers game in Washington D.C. last Thursday because I had never seen LeBron play.
Mm.
And I was going to be so bummed if he retired and I never got to see him. Because that did happen with Serena Williams. I never got to see Serena Williams live. So felt like I had to go and I went. And I honestly think there was more Lakers fans in the building than Wizards fans. It was a very weird dynamic of like the Wizards. That was the Wizards' 16th straight loss. Um, So it was like a weird dynamic. Like pretty much everyone was there for the Wizards or to see Bron and or Bronny. Honestly, the Bronny cheers were absolutely hysterical. But I found myself rooting for the Lakers, or not the Lakers, the Wizards more than I ever have because there were so many Wizards Lakers fans. God, I can't talk because there's so many Lakers fans in the building. Um, so it's kind of a weird game. One like component of that I wanted to mention that I think you would have had something to say about Vaughn was you know how they do, there's a lot of teams do this, but every team does it a little bit differently. But it's like if the visiting team misses two free throws in the fourth quarter or in the second quarter or whatever, everyone in the arena gets like free. I honestly think it used to be like Popeyes a lot, but Capital One Arena, like the Wizards had a partnership with Chick-fil-A for this. Which normally those go well. Like I know there was lore of the Georgetown student section when I first started working at Georgetown that they had a chant about this specifically because they like loved it. They wanted the free chicken. Um, but it ended up being so weird because it ended up being Bronny taking the free throws that this was like the offer up on the screen about. Um, and so like nobody wanted it to happen because everyone was rooting for Bronny like crazy. And I was like, that did not work in Chick-fil-A's favor at all. Like this, everyone was like, I don't want this promotion. Like I want Bronny to be successful. And I feel like you've said things like this before, like when the team wins and you still have to post or the team loses and you still have to post about the like loss because you have some partnership. Like it seemed like that kind of thing. Like they had a contract, they had to do this that game, even though it like wasn't the best opportunity for it. So I never thought of you in that moment. The other thing that gave this game a little bit of a weird vibe, overall it was like a fun night and a good experience. So I don't want to give too much negative energy, but um but this was the day after the awful plane crash in DC. And so the vibe of the city was just odd and sad and down. And I think everyone felt a little bit weird about like going about their days in a normal way after like such a tragedy happened so close nearby the night before. But I thought the marketing team did a really good job. They, before like anything else happened in the night, they did a moment of silence for the plane crash victims and their families. And like just did a really nice moment for everyone to like take a beat and think about that. And then it kind of, I feel like allowed everyone to just move on a little bit and at least like enjoy the rest of the night as much as they could. So shout out to like the in-game or in-arena team for that. I think that was a good call.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
but
always something that you gotta be careful about doing and make sure that you do it the right way. But when it's the situations and it's so close to home, like you have to.
you can't ignore it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you got to see LeBron though. Me
Yeah.
and Justin went to see LeBron when we were in grad school at Georgetown when he was on the Cavs.
Nice.
It was like a Tuesday night and they had a college night promo for like $10 tickets. He was sitting up in the 400 level. Um, the Wizards blew him out. Mike Miller had like 33 points. This is so
Were the
long.
Wizards
It was like
good then?
2000. Yeah, this is when the Wizards and the Cavs used to battle in the playoffs. This is
Mm,
Gilbert Arenas, Mike Miller, Antoine Jameson days. Man.
yeah, it was honestly like this game was made fun by the fact that it was like a blowout by the end of the first half. Like the Lakers were up by like 35 points. And it kind of made it more fun because like no one was really taking it that seriously. So there was like Bronny MVP chants and like I don't know. It was fun. It was a good vibe. But yeah, I don't know. I was glad to see LeBron play. That was cool. And to see him and Bronny play in the same game was also cool. Now I can say I saw a father-son duo play in the same NBA game.
History. That's history.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. We would be remiss if we didn't start our real topics of this episode talking about the Luka trade. I feel like everybody and their mother has been talking about this. DJs were announcing it in clubs. So of course we need to talk, not necessarily about the trade, but about the marketing implications. Vaughn, you want to get us started?
And it was such a weird thing. Like, I know I talk about Justin all the time on here because like he's a like legit like my friend.
Reporter. Oh,
Like,
and your friend, yeah.
a real friend. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can say that. also I didn't want to be a Debbie Downer. But that's part of the reason why I was in Richmond is because his grandmother just passed away. So I was at his funeral, her funeral on Friday. And then his birthday was on Saturday. And so obviously I had seen him on Friday. But I was after being out, after going to the game on Saturday and going to dinner with my mom and Key and some friends, I got back home and I called him just to check on him and say happy birthday and just because I hadn't talked to him that day, just to make sure he was good. And so we had made it back to DC and we talked for like maybe 5, 6 minutes. This is like 10:30, 10:45. Love you, bro. Talk to you later. I go to sleep and then I wake up the next day and I have a missed call from him at like that was at like 12:30 a.m. So like in my mind, I'm like, oh, something's wrong, or maybe he just butt dialed me because I literally just got off the phone. And we don't talk on the phone that often. Like we text almost every day, but we don't talk on the phone like on a regular basis. So if I just talked to him and he called me back like an hour after that, like something's up. And I immediately scrolling on my phone in the bed at 7:30 in the morning was like, oh my gosh, this is what's up. Like Luka for AD is insane. So I talked to like we were texting and I know I'm giving this is not marketing at all. I just want to talk to because this is just
Go
my
for it.
perspective,
Go
right?
for it.
Like me and him are texting, but we're texting in this group chat that has our one of our friends from college, Brian, in it, who is a big Lakers fan and actually lives in LA. And I felt bad, but I was like, we were having an important conversation, and we also didn't want Brian to get left out of the conversation, even though we knew he was not. It was like he's 3 hours behind us, so he's
Yeah,
like,
right.
"Oh, to
Right.
talk." So eventually Brian like hopped in way earlier than I thought he would, which was funny. And then like I go in the other room because I'm obviously waking Key up because I'm talking about this and watching videos and being loud, and then I go in the other room to watch SportsCenter, and then like 30 minutes later, Justin is on SportsCenter from his office at home. But yeah, so it was cool. It was an interesting day. And like we're talking about marketing, branding, content implications. Like one thing that I saw, which was important, like, this concept of there's so many marketing materials that you have the face of your franchise on. How much money are you going to spend to change that, right? A lot. Like and it's just a cost, right? Like it's a cost that you eat because if you at that point feel like, obviously there's so much conversation about the decision and what went into the decision and who made the decision and how it was made, like that is the least of those people's worries. They don't care how much money they got to spend to take down all the graphics and stuff like that. They're like, we're saving 300 and however many, whatever the super max is for Luka. We're saving that money. We can use it to spend on making some new graphics in the arena or whatever we need to do. It's not that big of
Well,
it.
and I think that's important to put like I've never thought about that. And I'm sure like brand teams go through this all or like even graphic design teams go through this like all the time because players get traded all the time. But to trade your franchise player when that's the person that you have on all of your out of home ads, all of your print ads, like not just the digital ones, those are easy enough to replace, like change out what creative you're running online, whatever. But like the bus ads, the billboards, the what are they called? Programs in the arena, like your in arena signage, like crazy to think about updating all of that. Um,
But like from a I will say from a social content standpoint, I don't think that either team really did much until
yeah,
maybe
maybe
late
not even the first day.
late yesterday, or maybe
Yeah,
today even. Like
yeah,
nothing that was like
I
super
didn't see much.
because you got to make sure that stuff's official. Like people got to like pass physicals and you like, you never know. But at some
Yeah, it also
but I
takes
haven't
time to develop that.
yeah, all that stuff takes forever to do. But
Yeah,
a jersey swap is not like not as it depends on how good of a jersey swap it is, to be honest. But like most of these people that are at this in this high level can do a jersey swap in maybe an hour or two at the most.
yeah.
Especially, I think the one thing I would question is like how much do the team's media and marketing people collaborate in that situation? Like, can you just send me a quick photo? Or maybe like, because it's different in college compared to the pros where there's probably like a database or something that you can go and download assets from. I don't know. I'm just talking out loud, but like
Great point.
it's a
Yeah.
lot harder for us, like for us when I was gonna just talk about examples that I've been through with like hiring new coaches.
Yeah. I was gonna talk about I was at Pitt when they changed the logo and the colors.
Hmm.
And I knew that was like a really expensive undertaking because that wasn't even just specific to a sport. That was the whole university, the whole campus, everything. Like they changed the logo and the colors. So, it's like a huge undertaking.
Like when we're announcing a new coach, like you can ask the other SID to send you some photos, but like they don't really have any obligation to do it. I mean, it's a nice and it's a courtesy, professional courtesy to do. But a lot of that stuff, this trade was not normal. Let's make sure that's clear too. So like I
Yeah.
think in certain situations there might have been more of a heads up, like again, speaking to my experience like from a coach standpoint, like we'll know a couple days who maybe the candidates are, and then maybe the day before, like we might get a heads up, it's gonna be this person, and maybe only like two people know. But this situation was so like in the middle of the night on a Saturday too. Like I think both teams played that day. I know the Lakers played, they just played the Knicks, which was a big deal. Like I'm almost positive like there was no one in those spaces in those roles who was even thought about giving a heads up to for this reason because of what I said earlier.
Yeah. Can we have a total gossip aside for like quite literally 10 seconds? Do you think LeBron knew and lied?
Ah,
I saw so much stuff that's like, there's no way he didn't know. And now he's just pretending not to know.
oh no, man. I mean, that's like I think of LeBron to be like, I don't know him personally. I would say I would hope not. Let's just say that. Let's just
You
say
would
that.
hope not.
I'd hope not.
Yeah.
At the same time, I wouldn't be surprised because it's like it's this at the end of the day, it's business. Like as much as, LeBron is from what we get to see about him and know about him, from this public persona, like he seems like a good dude overall, but I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, okay. Sorry for the gossip. We are not like a sports gossip column, but I had to ask. Um, yeah. No, I know this is so uh just like wild to think about. I know I've seen this is also something we're not going to talk about, but like who won the trade, like whether it was worth it, who it was better for, which kind of brings us to the next thing you wanted to talk about here, which was um, a comment about like the poor kids trying to like early career ticket people who are trying to sell tickets.
It's gonna be brutal, but it's gonna make them so much stronger. Like as someone who's been through that, like, and obviously this is the highest level. This is peak. I didn't touch this. I didn't reach this level at all. But like my comparison is I when I was working at University of Richmond, my first year, I was in ticket sales and marketing, and I had like they had just opened a new stadium, but the basketball team was good for the first time in a while. So like I spent the first like 2 months calling people who had season tickets for football to ask them about the stadium and then try to turn that into a conversation about basketball. But of course, I'm taking all these hits about someone was in my seat, or I don't like this view of the new stadium. The sun is in my eyes. Can I change? Like just a bunch of critiques on the newness of the stadium because people don't like change. But some of them actually were good conversations that led to, positive adjustments or like actually turned into basketball season ticket sales. But my point is going through that and having those conversations, being able to have those tough conversations where you can also make the fans feel like you are the point that they can like the touch point to make them feel better about it. You aren't gonna promise them a championship, right? Like you're just gonna talk to them about it and just be a listening ear. And I think that that's part of what will make them stronger because that like being a listening ear will help them to understand the fans' perspective in a way that will make them better salespeople.
I, to this day, miss being on phones with customers. I think that like every marketer in the world, regardless of what industry you work in, should be on the chat function or the phones once a year. Like you just need to talk to your actual customers to know who your customers are. And I miss it because I don't do that now. But you got so much of that in sports because people are like so tied to, especially in college teams, like people are so tied to their teams and they might also be like their alma maters or their kids went there or whatever. And you just got to have like actual relationships with your fans, which I miss. Um, what I wanted to say about this, well, it was interesting. I noted a couple of different rumors online, or like not rumors, but they were proved to be rumors. People were claiming like, oh, the Mavs Instagram account lost 700,000 followers overnight, or it's official, they lost 3,000 season ticket holders overnight. Which the first one was disproven by some like external website that tracks followers. And then the second one was like, that doesn't make any sense because you can't like cancel your season tickets mid-season, like.
You already paid for
Like,
that.
yeah, like do you have internal data about people who are like not renewing their season tickets for next? Yeah, like it just doesn't make any sense. Um, but I think, I mean, this is like one of those times in marketing where you just can't, you don't know the outcome. Yeah, like you're not going to know whether it ends up like you can't, it's just going to be a rough ride for a little bit. The team could end up being better off for this, and then it'll be a win for the marketing team. Like their job will be made easier. Like they're not without stars. Like they still we're ignoring the fact that they have Kyrie Irving
Yeah.
and Clay Thompson, who like is arguably, less of a star, but like you Kyrie Irving, like make him your just put him in all your ads. Like relax. Like people are talking like AD is the only guy on the team now.
I just
So I mean, I feel for the marketing people, but it'll
the
be fine.
idea that people unfollow, I think was like I knew that was BS because like think about it. Think about how much it takes for you to unfollow like
Yeah,
like if you follow a brand, like unless they're going full like crazy off the deep end racism or something like that, right? Like you're
right.
not
Exactly. Yeah.
not following them. Like you just it's not that serious. Like
Yeah.
especially if you're a real fan. Like if you follow a team that you care about, you follow that team not because of Luka Doncic, unless you're like maybe there's maybe there's a segment of Mavs fans that follow them that live in Slovenia where Luka is from that are like maybe not as engaged, which would make sense, but I don't think it's 700,000 of them.
I also don't think they'd unfollow like overnight.
Right.
They wouldn't be like, yeah, like I don't know.
Because I think they still want to watch the fight. They want to watch the crash, right? They want to see like
True. Also,
did
like,
this gonna work?
I don't go from, oh, here's this real world event to let me unfollow them on this account unless it's something that's like, wow, they did something really offensive. Like, if over time I realize I'm still getting Mav stuff in my feed and I don't care anymore, like in a few weeks I might unfollow, but it just doesn't make sense. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is like the reactions, not the first topic we talked about with like all of the assets needing to be updated, like that I think is a real thing, but to the people losing their minds over like how the marketing people are going to make this like an attractive product, I think that's kind of an overreaction.
They could still very well win the NBA Finals this year. Like very well.
Um,
All right, more
okay,
basketball talk to wrap it up.
you got it. Take it away.
It's a big deal. We're celebrating the 40th anniversary of the release of the Michael Jordan Air Jordan 1 shoe. And the Jordan brand and Nike's campaign to promote this and get people excited about it has been absolutely beautiful. Very well done, super creative, not just a bunch of social content or graphics. It's like actual in-person on-site activations at the United Center, at this Nike headquarters. So we'll talk about a little bit of those. just to, I mean, how many pairs of
This,
Jordans do you own?
say that again.
How many pairs of Jordans do you own, Jules?
Personally, none. I'm not a sneaker girl,
You ever
but
had a pair of Jordans? Ever?
maybe like actual basketball shoes back when I played.
Got you.
Not anymore. I'm not a sneaker. Maybe you haven't seen how I dress. I'm like a little too preppy. Um, um, I want to my what I want to say before you like dive deeper is like this should be the new gold standard for a truly integrated marketing campaign. Like you were saying, like it is so they activated in every channel, digital, not digital. They pulled in every single person signed to Jordan. They like were ready at the drop. Like it wasn't rolled out over time. Like this all hit within a couple days, all over the place. This really, like really so well done.
Yep. So I think the rumor release of these, so to celebrate, they're releasing the original colorway like Jordans that were banned, and that's part of the story that they're telling is those shoes were not allowed because at the time the NBA had a strict dress code for on court and sneakers had to be a certain color. And so we talk about these on-site activations, like they've been going to any opportunity, whether it's online or in person, where they can block out or mark out, cover up the Jordan shoes, whether it's on the statue at the United Center or the word Jordan at Nike headquarters. They deleted the IG and started over with so they can only have content that's showing that's related to this. But it also helped signal to people that something was coming, which I thought was also huge part of the buildup. Um, all of their people have been, whether it's their actual athletes or their other lifestyle endorsers have been, covering up Jordans and their content. Jalen Hurts today or yesterday at the kickoff to go to the Super Bowl or a send-off event at the link for the Eagles, he had on a hoodie with a picture of his feet from the one of the playoff games where he was wearing Jordans and the Jordans were covered up. So it's been really cool to see all these activations of it. I think the biggest I think now that they're getting into, I think they probably timed it with this past weekend being a non-football weekend for them to really like get some of their big content pieces out. There was a video that they launched, the major ad for it, that kind of start off by telling the story. But I love that the ad, in addition to having their big name athletes in it and endorsers like Jalen Hurts and Luka and Jason Tatum and Travis Scott and some other folks. I love that they also made it a point to not only include Howard, who's been Jordan Brandon since 2022, but also like say Howard in the spot, like mention them by name, which I thought was a huge look for HBCUs and specifically Howard. So go check out that video. And then what else did we forget to talk about? Oh, and we talked about on in person, right? Like the idea of them being on campus. Um,
Nike campus.
they were on the Nike campus giving away tickets, citations to employees who were wearing Jordans. So that was really
Yeah.
cool. They really put some effort into it. Obviously, like 40 years of Jordan brand is a big deal. So kudos to Nike. And like I think this is important because like people like Jordan Rodgers who've talked about it, like there's some ideas or some thoughts that, Nike hasn't been at the forefront in the space as they have been in the past or as they've been known to be. And I think this is definitely a reminder, like we still are who you know us to be for sure.
Yeah. There's two things that I want to highlight from this specifically that I think speak to their like they went full send with this campaign, and I think that like that's kind of what helped it be successful. Like they didn't half-ass it. One is like creating this character like they created a character of this guy in the suit, who was the one giving out citations. He also was at like a Heat game or some game or something. And he like gave a ticket to a mascot or something I saw. But creating this character, I think really helped. Like they made an Instagram account or a LinkedIn account, like a LinkedIn profile for him, to try to make him seem like a real person. Like I think that speaks a little bit to the like commitment. I also think that speaks to like this isn't just going to be like a one weekend campaign. Like I think this is gonna be a longer running campaign for him because you probably wouldn't like go to lengths to create a character if you weren't going to be around for a while. The other thing about the character I find interesting is like we've seen this idea work really well for some other brands, like the Mac PC commercials and like those characters, like certain characters from like Geico commercials or like Jake from State Farm. Like those are all like promotional characters that have been really successful for those brands. So if they do this character right, like it could be really successful for them. Um, the other piece is like something that I think is actually kind of risky. Like on the Nike website itself, they have blocks over the shoes. So if you go to Nike and shop for Jordans right now, like you can't actually see the shoes in the grid. Like if you're like scrolling on the page shopping, because they have like the block band thing on it, which is like a risky choice, but they're really committing to the bit. And I don't know, I love that. I think that's like, I mean, they're Nike. I think they kind of can do it, but I love that for them.
To your point about the characters, like that goes back to OG Spike Lee being Blackman. Like they're one of the first people to do that
Yeah.
back in the 80s. Um,
So maybe even in some way they're like calling back to that a little bit too.
I mean, technically, Mars Blackman was in a movie, but never mind. I was, it's the same. It's pretty much the same thing. But yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, the shoes are supposed to come out February, which is around All-Star Weekend. I think it might be the same weekend, which also is, I'm sure there's going to be tons of activations during
Yeah,
that. It's going to be great.
that'll be cool.
Yeah, I mean, everything that we've been talking about and considering how, I mean, I feel like we did a good job of reporting what was, in front of us in terms of ratings being down and like there being conversations about the product on the court, but the buzz around this league and the personalities and faces connected to this league still very high, very entertaining.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, look at how the world reacted to Luka, the Luka trade.
Let-
Like,
Let's
it's
go back
not
to
it's
that.
not as if the NBA is like irrelevant all of a sudden.
Let's go back to that because we forgot to talk about a very important part of that. I can't see the screenshots because I sent them to you because I have my phone as the camera. But
I do too.
okay.
Well, what? Let me see. I can pull it up. What?
Look at the difference in the announcement from so for context, people, Sham's tweet came out around 12:30-ish, right? Or something like that.
This you're talking about Beyonce comparison?
Yes.
Okay, so it's gonna be sideways, so I'm gonna have to like tilt my head all crazy, but Sham's tweet like breaking the news of the trade was 12:12 a.m.
Right.
And then Beyonce announced her tour on Twitter at least at 12:45 a.m.
Okay.
And then your note, like the reason you sent these to me was because of the difference in engagement. So Sham's tweet had 68 million views and Beyonce's had 2.7 million views. Except
That
then I immediately,
screenshots are at the same exact time. So it's like both of those screenshots were from 11 a.m. the next day, or basically the same day. So 11 a.m.
like 10 hours, like 11 hours later.
Yes.
Yeah. Although I immediately made the case to you that on Instagram, Beyonce's post at 11 a.m. had 1.7 million likes, and Sham's Instagram post had 385,000 likes. So I think some of that is attributable to like the different users on the platforms. Like people are more used to getting sports news on Twitter and music news on Instagram. I'm also not sure that Beyonce's tour wasn't technically announced on Netflix, which
Sh-
might be crazy to say, but I saw some people posting something about Netflix.
Like Netflix made the announcement that same day.
I saw something, everyone was like, yeah, like it's crazy. Beyonce didn't tell us that she added this. And then they were showing like a Netflix ad, that like Cowboy Carter tour video, which I think I might totally be making this up. Like this could be me misunderstanding what I was seeing because like you pay. 1.3 seconds of attention to various things you see online. But I'm not like 100% sure where she actually announced technically. So I'm not sure that these comparisons are apples to apples, but go ahead and make the point you're going to make.
Yeah, I feel like it's I think comparing Instagram to Twitter is different, especially if you're comparing likes to views. So I think the views on Twitter is more so because people retweet things not because they want to like agree with them or co-sign them or show support of. They like sometimes people just retweet stuff just to show to other people like that I see this. Like, do you see this? Right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, if you
Which
get more likes on it, likes on Beyonce's thing on Instagram because people like actually are excited about it.
about it. To that point, like shares,
Yeah.
I really noted this because I was like kind of considering that in my head at the same time. The shares on Sham's Instagram post were 467,000 or something like that, and Beyonce's were like 300,000. So if you're talking about that same concept of like people wanting to like share the news, then his Instagram post still like outperformed.
Yeah. I mean, it was an interesting day, night, morning, technically.
I kind of love days like that. Like I love when the internet is in a frenzy. It's always entertaining.
What a time. What a time.
Uh,
And I also like I'd be interested to figure out or to hear like some perspective on like I think there's clearly a different audience, but there is some overlap, right? Like I feel like sports is such a pop culture thing, and Beyonce is like a major pop culture figure. Like, did Beyonce's team have a conversation about maybe changing it or delaying the release, or just like maybe they're just like, no, we don't care, we're Beyonce, and they just did it anyway. And also important context too, like because we are East Coast people, and these are
true.
both of these are West Coast announcements.
That's
Lakers
a very good point.
and Beyonce is on West Coast time, but also it had to do with the Grammys, which were in LA at the same time. So like basically that was 9:45 for them or 9 o'clock. So like that's
Wait, this was the day before the Grammys, wasn't it? Yeah.
the night before. Yeah.
Um, I actually thought about that exact same topic earlier today of I was watching NBA yesterday. Someone reminded me the Grammys were on and I switched.
Hmm.
Um, because I wanted to watch the Grammys. So there's definitely overlap between,
Yeah.
and I wanted to watch the Grammys because I wanted to see Beyonce get her flowers for Cowboy Carter. So there's like definitely overlap between sports fans, Beyonce fans, or like sports fans and music fans. Also, I feel like we have to follow up about Kendrick after last week's rant.
Part of it has to be part of the reason why they probably didn't decide or think about changing this because it needed to be out before the show because it's to
Oh,
capitalize
true.
on if she won, and she did win. So
Yeah.
now it's out, and who cares about Luka? Have a tour, you fill out the album of the year, and now you want to go to the tour.
I
Bam.
actually would have loved if she pulled a Doechii move and announced after she won, if she won. And then if she didn't win, she could have just deleted it like a week or something, whatever. But like that would have been amazing to announce it right after she won in the same way that like Doechii released that song.
Yeah. That would have been crazy actually.
I'm a little sad she didn't think of that because she's like cool like that. She could do things like that.
Okay.
Um,
Do you want to talk about Kendrick? I don't after last week, I don't know that this is what do you got?
I just felt like you were gonna like give me shit for it.
I'm not that type of person. I'm not gonna rub it in your face. It's nothing, it is what it
See,
is.
this is what I was gonna say. This is what I was gonna say. I think last week it got misconstrued because I didn't like hate seeing him win. No part of me hated seeing him win. I actually loved to see rap get the recognition it deserved as winning not just like or him not just winning rap categories. Like he won non-rap categories, which I think is like deserved. I mean, I want to see, yeah. Um, Also like not mad at him for being recognized for what like was undeniably a good song. I just think the beef as a whole was stupid. Anyway, I was waiting for you to give me shit, but I felt that like I needed to clarify because I knew you were probably like laughing at me.
Oh, I didn't even I didn't even watch the Grammys. I think I caught maybe like one piece of it. I was exhausted. I mean, I was in Richmond for the weekend. Didn't even like go super hard or do anything crazy. Just tired from traveling and came back, got on the Peloton. And me and Kia got to get our trash TV in. So
That's true. That's
Monday
true.
is for the Housewives of Potomac. Tuesdays is for Married at First Sight. And yeah, so we watched that, and after that, I think I was half asleep. Didn't even,
I
yeah.
I had a long week last week that included a trip to the ER and then a move. And then I had a really bad cold all weekend, and so I really wanted to go to bed last night. But I like just had the TV on so I could like hear that she won while I was like half falling asleep. I needed to know. I needed to know. But
For you
we
for
made it.
I mean, I think this is also an important time to remind people that like there's a decent age gap between me and Jules. Like I'm old. I need my rest. Like I got
Is it 10 years?
I mean that depends on if you want to tell people how old you are.
I think it's you that doesn't want to tell people how old you are. I'm not ashamed. I don't yet have a three starting my birthday, so or my age. I'm still a baby in my mind.
I think maybe I think I might be exactly 18 months younger than LeBron James.
Okay, you are old. I'm a lot younger than LeBron James. He could be my dad. No, he couldn't.
That'd be super weird. All right, Jules.
All right. Fun, fun topics this week.
Next week,
Next week is the
ready for
Super Bowl.
ready for a doozy next week. We're gonna have
Uh,
commercials. We're gonna have man, I swear if the Chiefs win and Travis Kelce proposes to Taylor Swift or anything ridiculous like that, like
don't even put that out in the universe. Don't even put that out there.
yeah, the conspiracy's been talking about that already.
I know, but I don't like I just I shouldn't finish that sentence. Um, yeah, I don't know. Don't even put that out there. Eagles are gonna win. I've seen a bunch of things. I've seen a bunch of stuff that like implies that the Eagles are gonna win. So
I think the Eagles. I mean, I think the Eagles are only going to win if they blow them out, which I'm hoping for. I want Saquon Barkley to run for like 300 yards in the first half.
2 years ago, I bet like a $5 bet on who is gonna score the first touchdown. Won $80 on that bet. Immediately rebet all of that on something else. On like who was gonna score the second touchdown. Won that, and then I had made a couple $100, and probably not bet since. So maybe
Well,
if I'm feeling so what?
you want an app? You using an app?
Yeah, probably like DraftKings or something. I'm not like a gambler, so I put like $5 bets like every now and then, like just as a way to kind of get more invested into a game like I otherwise don't care about. But I feel like I got so lucky that night, or I'm just like really smart. Um, but I like haven't wanted to ruin it. Speaking of which, I was in like three different bracket pools for March Madness this last year, and I won all three. And then I played my first ever season of fantasy football this fall with people from work, and it was 12 people, and I won that too. And I'm like, I don't think I can ever play anything ever again because I just went like undefeated in
Okay.
all of the like fake sports worlds, and I can't lose that reputation now. So I
Okay.
think I might have to retire.
Should definitely retire.
Anyway, the reason I brought all of that up was I was going to say maybe if I'm so confident in the Eagles, I'll like put a $5 bet somewhere.
A lot of money.
$5? Yeah, that's right. I could buy. like a tank of gas with that. All right. Anyway, we'll be back next week to talk about the Super Bowl.
Gonna be fun.
Can't wait. See you next week.
Only gonna be fun if the Eagles win. How about that?
Yeah, I know. There was talk of going to an Eagles bar. But you're right. I won't be able to hear the ads, I feel like, if I go.
You will not.
So maybe I will have to
For the sake of
scratch that.
your participation in this podcast, you need to sit at home and watch it and be ready to take notes.
I know. I know. I was wondering, is this job of mine gonna like limit my Super Bowl options?
No, you only live once, Jules. Go to the bar. You
All
can always
right.
watch the
Commercials.
next day.
Yeah, we'll see.
Live your life.
I
You're
just might
young.
not.
You're
It
young,
might
Jules. Live your life.
um well, I'm not gonna say that either. Um what was I gonna say? I might have to not go to it. I might have to compromise and not go to an Eagles bar because that might be too crazy for me. I'm not like
DC?
I'm what?
DC?
Indeed, yeah, there's Eagles bars in DC.
I mean, maybe. Yeah, I mean,
No, I think I know of a few. There's a Steelers bar in DC. There's a few.
I feel like that energy is gonna be distracting. Like people are gonna be up and down with every single play. If you're
I
at
feel
your
like it might I feel like it might be too much. I might have to like compromise and just go to a normal bar. Um, yeah. And you, because you're old and married, are just gonna be at home.
yeah, we're trying to figure out what food we want to order. We've been talking about that for 2 days already.
That is like such an 18 months younger than LeBron thing to say.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, we probably would have gone to Richmond. And we're just rambling again, but we probably would have gone to Richmond if we hadn't just gone to Richmond.
Mm,
But I'm not going back to Richmond again. Like I just don't feel like that. I don't feel like doing that.
that's fair. Although I feel like you're gonna change your mind and go to Richmond.
No. Not unless
You would do it.
someone has to invite me to something in Richmond, and then maybe I'll go. But no one
Yeah, but
has.
I feel like that's probably gonna happen. You have a lot of friends in Richmond.
My friends are like not. My friends are. I mean, what I would love to do, I'd love to go to Philly. But that's that.
Ooh.
I would do that before I go to Richmond because Richmond is. My friends in Richmond are Commanders fans, and they're not happy. They don't want us. They're not gonna. They're either gonna root for the Chiefs on spite, or they're just gonna be mad and not root for anyone.
Do you have friends in Philly who are Eagles fans?
Probably one of my best friends and former coworkers. He actually lives in DC, but he's from Philly, born and raised in Philly. He just moved to DC last year, but he's like
Mm.
went to like 3 games this year. I think he went to both the playoff games.
You should call him. That would be fun.
I don't know if I want to drive. I don't.
Watch with a real
I don't
Eagles
want to
fan.
drive to Richmond. I don't want to drive to.
DC. That's right. That drive does suck.
Yeah, we'll see.
Fun fact. We should never mind. I'm not gonna say that while we're recording.
Okay. All right, let's
Okay.
get out of here, Jules.
Goodbye.
Bye.